So we're going to be starting from the University of Ghana, where they've been having issues. Well, a year ago, they had issues with the Gandhi statue. We've gone back to that story, and a group of Ghanaian academics last year, they called for the removal of the statue of Mahatma Gandhi from the University of Ghana. It is still on the campus, even though it has been slightly defaced. Now, the statue was unveiled by the Indian president in June last year as a symbol of friendship between the two countries. But the anti-Gandhi group said the former Indian leader had suggested that Indians were superior to Africans and so did not deserve the honor. The anti-Gandhi movement was so strong it inspired a Gandhi must fall hashtag. Nancy Emefa-Gyaradosi returned to the campus and reports at least one of those who supported the campaign for the removal of the statue is yet to give up the fight.
This statue here was erected here at the University of Ghana somewhere in June last year, and it generated a lot of controversies. Had petitioners who had about some 1,000+ signatories, and also had a counter petitioner also gathering some, hundreds of signatures to make sure that either this particular statue is still situated here on campus or removed. What even made the situation worse was when one evening it was revealed that the statue, which had some spectacles on, was taken off by some unknown assailant. This made the Foreign Affairs Ministry back last year in a statement in September revealing that they were going to take off the statue from the University of Ghana campus to where we did not know. But then it's been 1 year down the line, and the statue of Mahatma Gandhi is still erect here at the University of Ghana. But Dr. Badele is of the view that Ghana has lost its dignity by refusing to honor its heroes and sheroes.
We don't have any statues of our own heroes and sheroes from antiquity up to the present, not a single one here at the university. It really, is a blow to the dignity of African people.
He even has a problem with Ghana receiving handouts from India.
The government of India has just given Nana Akufo-Addo $1 million to refurbish Flagstaff House. Now that has import. What they're basically doing is saying we're going to buy your president. Then they've also offered $200 million to do a new parliament building. So basically, they don't have as much money to throw away like China, so they have to make their dollars count. So the dollars, they're going to buy the president, and then they're going to buy parliament. But again, this is what they're doing, that we basically as Africans, they're not thinking about our dignity or our self-respect. Only we can do that. Basically what they're saying without saying it is that we don't have politicians, we have prostitutions. Some mixture between prostitute and politician where they'll just buy you off, you bend over, they get done, and then they go on their merry way.
But most students were of the view that the statue of Mahatma Gandhi should be taken off.
It should be moved away because when you look around, we don't have any of our leaders, the big six, any of them, they are not here. So I think they should have been here before any other foreign destination being on campus.
I think it should be maintained because it has historical significance. It's been around for quite a while and people are used to it.
I learned he was a racist. And moreover, he described blacks and black women as bad people and never had any good view about them. So I think this statue should be taken off from here.
The University of Ghana says it will engage the Foreign Affairs Ministry to finally settle the issue. Until then, Mahatma Gandhi is still erect on the University of Ghana campus. Reporting for Joy News, MFA Nancy Gyaradosi, University of Ghana, Legon.
Now, the minority in Parliament has dismissed claims by the current administration that the previous NDC government is to blame for its inability to end the IMF economic reform program on the agreed 2018 timeline, as announced recently by President Akufo-Addo. This comes in the wake of the IMF's announcement that government's request for a 1-year extension, among others, has been granted. It follows the conclusion of an assessment of the fourth review of the extended credit facility by the IMF board and the approval for the disbursement of $94 million. Explaining the cause of the extension or review, the Deputy Finance Minister, Kweku Kwarteng, blamed it on the previous administration's inability to meet the set targets. We'll hear from him shortly, but first, here's a News Desk report taking you down memory lane on the narrative on the IMF program.
The IMF program is not going to be extended. We took the decision on coming in that the country had entered into this program in 2015. It was coming to an end in April 2018, and we felt that to give a certain sense of stability and coherence to our country's economic policy making, that we would complete the program. And we're committed to completing the program. The last budget that is going to be held under the IMF program will be the budget that is going to be laid before the House in November by the finance minister. That will be the last budget of the Ghana government under the current IMF program. So there's going to be no question of an extending the program. The program is going to be completed.
That was President Akufo-Addo just last month, as emphatic as ever that there will be no extension to the IMF program. But yesterday, there was a dramatic shift in government policy when they accepted to extend the program by a year. One person who was most critical of the NDC for going for what he then termed a bailout was then NPP vice presidential candidate Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who is now the vice president and the chair of the economic management team. For instance, in March 2016, at a lecture organized by the economics department of the KNUST in Kumasi on the topic graduate unemployment, Dr. Bawumia described the IMF program as, quote, a sham. He was particularly critical of the conditions attached to the IMF program. Listen to him speaking on Sahara TV just last year.
You're going to go through the normal, tighten your belt, cut expenditure, increase taxes. They also want to reduce subsidies. The bailout also entails cutting down your borrowing. The government is borrowing a lot as far as the IMF is concerned, and government needs to cut down its borrowing.
A fair question to ask, therefore, is, does the current extension of the IMF program mean then that the IMF is also not happy that the NPP government is also, quote, borrowing a lot, as Dr. Bawumia put it last year? But there is one IMF condition Dr. Bawumia, as vice presidential candidate, was most critical of, and that is his claim that the IMF has imposed on the then NDC government a commitment to sack public sector workers in 2017 this year. In fact, at his famous Central University lecture on the topic, the IMF bailout, will the anchor hold? Dr. Bawumia said, and I quote, government has also agreed to begin the rationalization of public sector staff through a combination of worker layoffs and voluntary retirements. My understanding is that government wants the agreements to delay the worker layoffs until after the 2016 election. I wonder why. I suppose the message is, vote for me before I fire you. End of quote. So will Dr. Bawumia and his economic management team sack the workers now, especially after agreeing to extend the IMF program?
Now, those are certainly questions yet to be answered, but we can now hear the Deputy Finance Minister, Kwaku Kwarteng, explaining away the cause of the extension and how the previous administration's inability to meet the targets should be blamed for the current situation.
I into the IMF program in 2015, and the program was supposed to run for 3 years and end in April 2018. So periodically we have a review, and then if Ghana is progressing well in the program, the IMF provides some a certain clearing that you have passed this milestone, and then the disbursement happen, and then we proceed with the program. When we inherited the economy in January 2017, all the IMF agreed indicators had been missed. And in fact, the IMF themselves told us that we have messed up the program. That is to say, the objectives that were set and that were supposed to be achieved by April 2018 were way off. In fact, many of the variables were worse than they were at the time we went into the program. So we ourselves took it up with the IMF. How then did you sit down for an administration to run out a program like this, and then you continue?
In a swift reaction, the minority spokesperson on finance and former Deputy Minister of Finance, Atu Kasil-Forsing, dismisses that claim. He's expecting government to admit it erred for giving false assurances.
The NDC would like to hear from the IMF. The market watchers want to see what indeed the IMF is going to come out with their review, based exactly on the way they treated the previous administration and compared to the current administration. Because from what we are saying, we are clearly seeing the fact that this administration, very much so, is getting some preferential treatment from the IMF. That is our concern, and we want to hear from them.
What do you tell those who might say, or the fund who might argue that they made some proposals to you, either you cut expenditure or you raise more revenue, and you're not prepared to cut down expenditure?
What expenditure can you cut? If you say we should cut expenditure, what expenditure can you cut? Let me tell you, this administration expenditure is not being cut. Expenditure is very much increasing, both in nominal and real terms. That is not the case. We see that the budget makes an attempt to create impression that expenditure is coming down. It's not the case. That is not the case, and I can say that to you.
Because I asked this question because of, and not you alone, some members within the minority have also raised this issue, and their concern is that, well, these prayer actions were being forced on us to do before you go to the board. But the argument on the fund side was that it was two things for this previous administration. You either cut down expenditure or you raise these taxes to deal with the funding gap.
So simply let us hear from the IMF before they leave on Tuesday, Wednesday. Eyes are watching them.
It raises some credibility issues for the fund itself going forward.
I will not speak until the final decision is made. At that point, I'll be able to say that I have.
What if they don't respond to you because they'll say they are not? They deal as a government-to-government interaction.
Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta has been justified the decision by government to extend the agreement with the International Monetary Fund for 1 year. In an interview with Joy News, he said this is to allow the government realign its budget cycle with some specific targets by the IMF. Mr. Ofori-Atta is therefore optimistic all the targets by the fund will be met before the program ends.
Some time ago, the president did mention that we are aligning the program of our budget cycle to end in 2018. And really, yesterday at the IMF board meeting was agreement for the fourth review. And we haven't had a review in about 18 months, so it is really a landmark event in which then we'll get certain releases to support the budget. And certainly, once we work with the IMF in November for the 2018 budget, we intend to go through 2018 to make sure that the agreements and the prior actions are fulfilled by year-end 2018. We will meet the targets.
Any reason for that extension?
Well, I think the president was quite clear that once you do the budget in November this year for the whole of next year, we just follow to make sure that the budget is fully implemented, and that's a full cycle of the calendar year next year.
Well, at the end of the day, the implications are going to be on Ghanaians. And economist Joe Abbey has been explaining what these implications are, the implications of the extension in terms of costs to the country.
Fiscal discipline in this instance means that you try to raise more revenue, which is taking incomes from the hands of consumers and their dependents. And it also means sometimes cutting back on spending, which will mean that some people who would have obtained jobs, let's say with the government, will not get the jobs because the government doesn't have the finance. It also means that some contracts that could have been awarded to the private sector, contractors and deliverers of goods and services cannot be funded. Therefore, those who have also got jobs in those areas will not come. That is, you say fiscal discipline, yes, but somebody has to pay the cost of the fiscal discipline. And I'm saying that not only the total size of that cost, but it is a sharing of that cost And of course, if you have a longer period to carry it, it may not be as bad as if you want to do it all in one go. So it isn't the lengthening that increases the cost. The lengthening is rather a way in which to have time, or a longer period over which to carry what you must carry, because what happened in 2016 was not good.
Welcome to Business on Joy News Prime. Now, salaries of 7,000 workers in the public sector will not be paid this month. According to the Controller and Accountant General's Department, heads of department failed to validate them as workers in their respective institutions. There's more in the following report.
According to the Controller and Accountant General's Department, the suspension of salaries would affect those public sector workers on the mechanized payroll whose salaries have not been validated through the electronic salary payment voucher system in August 2017, as well as employees whose salaries were not validated. Also, employees with zero or irregular bank account details and others with wrong or without SNIT numbers, no bank details and same account numbers for different employees. Employees without the biometric registration system at the Ministry of Finance. So what can these people do to be paid? Well, for those whose salaries were suspended due to non-validation of salaries would be paid at the end of September 2017 on the condition that their heads of department validate them on the ESPV platform for September 2017. Employees declared unknown but not missing at their various places of work are required to submit reactivation letters signed by their heads of department to the Controller Payroll Processing Division. Employees yet to get through the biometric registration exercise should contact the Biometric Registration Center at the Ministry of Finance with the necessary documents for registration.
To bear the full cost of the excise tax stamps to be issued to local manufacturers and importers in the first year of implementation, the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Emmanuel Kofi Nti, revealed this at the launch of the policy, which will see the stamps affixed to the products that attract excise duty, like alcoholic beverages and tobacco.
According to the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Emmanuel Kofi Nti, the motive behind the introduction of a tax stamp policy is to rid the market of illicit products. The policy, expected to take effect from January 2018, has however been met with agitation from some business associations. They base their argument on unwarranted resultant costs. But Commissioner General Kofi Nti, in an interview with Joy Business, says businesses will not be paying for the cost of the stamp, at least for some time.
Government is ready to pick up the cost, at least for a long period during the implementation. And the issue is, the truth of the matter is that the cost per sticker is so low that it's not an issue. The issue is that there were abuses which this thing is curtailing, and they are using the cost as say, because if the cost is the issue, the cost has already been catered for.
How much does it cost government?
They had to supply some quantities over a period of time. You know, this process had been stalled. I mean, in between we had to pay, and then at the end of the day, it got stalled. So coming to it, but we are looking at a situation where the cost per stamp is 0.005. So it's not even up to 1 cedi. No, not even up to 1 peswa. It's basically less than 1 peswa per stamp. And so when you look at the price that is involved, there's nothing to whom to speak about.
He assures them that all concerns raised will be dealt with accordingly.
The whole excise tax stamp is to ensure, one, the right quantum of revenue is generated. Two, to ensure the prevention of fake and counterfeited products getting into the system. And so when we have it, it improves the health of our people. It improves the people from getting access to illicit products. And at the same time, it helps us to generate the revenue that we require. That's the extent of it. And the issue is that when goods are on the market and taxes on them are paid, we will know.
Some products to be affected by the policy include alcoholic beverages, bottled water and tobacco products.
Now, importers have raised concerns about the efficiency of the paperless port system, although they do not dispute it is the way to go. As government prepares to roll out the paperless policy at the port on Friday, the importers say officials must be prompt with responses to concerns put forward. They have been speaking to Joy Business's Sheila Tamaklo at a stakeholders forum in Accra.
The system is targeted at easing clearance procedures at the ports. With barely 24 hours to the rollout of the much-talked-about paperless port operations, importers are still apprehensive about its implementation.
Are officials ready with the attitude to receive the job that comes with paper? It is interesting to hear that, of course, you're not going to carry your declarations around. You just need your declaration number. But I was asking myself, how do you give us the declaration number? Am I going to write my number on a paper or have it on my phone, walk to a customs officer and say, this is my declaration number, and so he works for me? Then it doesn't become paperless. What is the objective of paperless? It is to eliminate the human interface.
The paperless will help. It's going to help us, the agents, because most of the countries, most of the world, global countries are also into those things. But the problem is the human interfaces that you would have to always go back to customs for, some sort of clarification. If, for instance, we have a shipment, I have put in my CCVR, I don't expect, a team of mine or a colleague of mine to send a document to customs because there has been an issue. There should be the email, somebody should respond to the email. If the emails are being responded, we wouldn't have an issue. But once they are not responding to the emails, then the human interfaces will still, come up.
But the Chief Revenue Officer of the Ghana Revenue Authority Customs Division maintains all is set for the rollout of the paperless system Friday, September 1.
I would say we are, because our system is virtually paperless already, except that now what we are doing differently now is that you print the declaration and present it to an office called the compliance office. But with this paperless system, the compliance office is no longer going to be at the port of entry. It's going to be done as a centralized point. The declaration will be validated and the agent will be informed. So all you need is to have a declaration number, not a paper which you are presenting.
Yeah. Now, but what we want to confirm here is, are we going to go ahead with it tomorrow?
We are supposed to go ahead tomorrow.
The forum organized by the Ghana Shippers Authority focused on air cargo trade facilitation.
In other news tonight, patronage of livestock has increased as Muslims gear up to celebrate Eid al-Adha. My colleague Charles Aite has been to a livestock market in Accra and our reports.
It's Eid once again, and we're currently here at the Avino market as several patrons are currently trooping in to get for themselves the best livestock for this year's celebration. We're here to find out the costs involved, the reasons why they choose to, make their shopping currently here, and why the reason behind this whole sale of livestock ahead of the Eid festivities. Sheep is the main livestock for this year's Eid celebrations, but the high cost of them is already making bleak the chances of a successful festivity. Baba is a patron who is here to get for himself some sheep for the celebration. He spoke to Joy Business.
We don't know now how to do. So if we can buy, then we buy. If you can't buy, then we go out and sit down, because our money is not rich for the things. Because the CFA is too high. And the cars too are charging the people too much before they bring the goods. Everything is too high. So we don't know what to do.
Some herdsmen at Avino in Accra told Joy Business that the high cost of the CFA coupled with various border barriers have slowed down trade this time around.
This time the CFA is going high. So we cannot, if we are just selling them, but they did not read the money. But we want to help Ghana people. Yes. But more times, if you charge them, they say this and the good is too much.
But how we go buy them, no expensive. It's too much expensive. The silver they high, so we cannot sell it like that. But we want guys help them, so we are begging Ghana people to come and buy the good.
So how much be the good?
Okay, I can buy it like 15,500.
But the market, they don't buy anything. We are here. I was here for a long period of time. I started here for the last 2 years, and I'm still here since 2015 to 2017. But compared to the market, just regularly last year and then this year, we are lacking. We don't even buy anything.
The price where you go sell, no, maybe you know go figure. This year the market no good. The foreign country will go buy them. The price you buy them, no fee go buy them for Ghana here. You talk something, money no day. Like last year, everything close.
You say if I go high too much. Last year we buy goat here like 50 gig. 50 gig. When they come, because of the safer, we sell it 40. We reduce 1 million, you see. Because of the safer is too high.
They relate to issues about the low performance of the currency market, as well as the low patronage of their livestock in the wake of this year's celebration. So what this means is that if you're, a Muslim, or you have a relative, who is a Muslim who would love to buy for him or herself cattle or, sheep, he or she would have to spend more as compared to that of last year, because the prices have arguably gone high. One sheep, the ones we're seeing down there, could go for 1,500. The little ones could go for, between 800 to 900 cedis, a lift from that of what was, happening or what was being charged last year. And this is a situation right here at Avino Market in Accra. And traders here are also saying that it transcends all other markets across the country.
Well, one thing is for sure, there will be plenty of meat to go around on Friday. That'll be it for business. The news continues after this break.
The much talked about free senior high school policy promised by the Akufo-Addo government is expected to be rolled out in 2 weeks. Ahead of the rollout, government on Thursday launched a logo to signal its readiness. Once it comes into effect, parents will be saved the burden of paying tuition, admission, library and science center fees. The other fees expected to be absorbed by government include computer lab, examination and utilities. Students will also be supplied textbooks, while day students will be offered free meals. President Akufo-Addo, who launched the logo, says he expects a smooth takeoff.
The first country in the world, in modern times anyway, to institute a system of free secondary public education was the United States of America. And the United States of America did this a century ago, at a time when their level of development was not very much more than ours. I hope that all of us in Ghana can see the connection between that event and where America is today as the economic power of the world. I believe that if we understand that connection, we will all support this initiative. There will be in any new initiative some wrinkles, some glitches. But if we understand that this is important, not because a political party has made it its mantra and that the promise that it made is being fulfilled, but because it goes to the heart of what we need to do to get our country going. Our country is abundant with talents, with creativity, with people who have all kinds of contribution to make to the development of our society. What we need to do is to provide them the opportunity to express themselves. And if that opportunity is provided, I think very, very, very rapidly we'll see the transformation that all of us want to see in Ghana. I want to thank the Minister for Education and all the hardworking people that have helped him in the education sector, that they have brought us to this day. My prayer is that in 2 weeks' time, when the program unfolds, it will do so to the satisfaction of all of us, and that a day will come when all of us will recognize that this was an important initiative for the future of our country.
Minister of State in charge of Treasury, Professor Kwesi Yankah, explains how they settled on the logo.
Explanation for the logo for the free SHS. The design highlights an open book on which is suspended a sketch of two delighted school children leaping in jubilation. Underneath the symbol are three words: access, equity, and quality, boldly inscribed. The open book represents learning that generates hope and optimism for a prosperous Ghana. The central symbol portrays two children emerging from a pleasurable learning experience as they spontaneously explode in joy. They are beneficiaries of a policy that lifts the of fees from parents.
Education Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh says he is ready for the challenge.
For the last 6 months, I think the Ministry of Education has been working, including Saturdays and Sundays, to 10 p.m. just to get this done. And we share your joy. We share the hopes this is going to bring to the people of the Republic of Ghana.
So the rollout of the free SHS means that parents who would have taken their wards to the boarding schools will be spared the cost of about 1,200 cedis. So we went out there to speak with some of these parents what they intend to use the extra cash for.
For future investment for education. Yeah, there's no point squandering the money because I didn't have it in the first place. And if the government is helping me to educate my daughter, then it is my responsibility to save the money for the daughter. Well, that's a very great idea, and it really is the burden on me. And not only me, the other families and parents who are trying to educate their children. Education is a key to success. And then no parent will want to see the daughter or son, lacking behind. So it's a very good idea. The government is helping us to push our kids for the future.
I will keep it for my child's future. This will help me a lot. If the government is taking care of my child's fees, I will definitely save the rest for his future.
Hey, na manya freedom na me school fees aka say no man penny school fees so ama me. Say ebeboa me.
I can use it to continue those who are on the SHS 3 and the 2. I can use it to support them. My brother have 2 children. They are going to SS2. And I'm taking care of them, so I will use it to support them. It will be easy for me because the government has supported us. And I've got at least I won't pay fees. And I think we can get something, the uniform and the extra money for school feeding, and so they won't stay home for long. So I think they can go early when the school will open.
I will invest the money in my business, and when I make profit, I will use it for his provisions and other basic needs. It will be easy for me because when my eldest child was going to senior high school, we spent a lot of money. But since the government is taking care of some of our expenses now, it will take off some burden from us. I'm still on preparations and I'm waiting for him to be posted to a school so I can prepare him fully.
All right, so later on Join This Interactive, we're asking another angle or looking at another angle to this story, which is, the government is absorbing some of the things or some of the costs that would entail taking your child to the senior high school. But do you know which costs are being absorbed? Because there's some things on the prescription of your ward which will not be taken up or borne by government. We'll have that discussion on Joy News Interactive. But Muslims across the world will on Friday celebrate Eid al-Adha, Feast of Sacrifice, considered the most important event on the Islamic calendar. The occasion commemorates God's gift of a ram in place of Prophet Ibrahim's son Ishmael, who was on the verge of being sacrificed as a mark of faith. Ahead of the festivities, Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin visited the livestock market in Kumasi and reports farm animals are in high demand.
A major part of the 3-day celebration is the symbolic slaughtering of animals. Potential buyers of animals, particularly sheep and cattle, complain about high prices. One needs between 2,500 cedis and 3,000 Ghana cedis to buy an average size cow. Sale centers are busy with people going round the various sheds in search of their precise size and convenient prices. Some almost give up after many rounds of search without landing a deal.
The market is not good at all. Potential buyers are not buying. We don't know what will happen tomorrow, but for now, it isn't well. The safer has made things difficult since morning. I only sold one cow.
This year they are so
this year is not good. We only pray the government will help bring the situation under control.
Time is running out for both buyers and sellers as the hours count down to the D-Day on Friday. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reporting.
Now let's take you on a trip to Adan, where illegal salt mining, referred to in Ghana Dangbe as Achiakpo, is wreaking havoc. For many of the residents of Adan living near the Songo Lagoon, salt mining is a major occupation. But that sort of livelihood is gradually fading away as some unscrupulous people have taken to Achiakpo, an illegal method of salt mining salt. With Achiakpo, people arbitrarily carve out private salt pans from the lagoon. In doing so, they forsake the communal access that allowed everyone to benefit from the resource. The residents and the Adan Songo Salt Women's Association mounted a fight, not with guns and clubs, but with a dance drama. Joy News' Maxwell Agogba sat through the performance, highlighting the menace, and has come through with this report.
Sounds of men, women and children on stage singing in high-pitched tones. The title of the song is Achiakpo, the illegal salt mining that has plagued the Songo community. Child walks up on the stage. She starts yelling.
Illegal Achiakpo! 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 Achiakpo must stop!
It is clear Achiakpo is wreaking havoc on families and communities, bearing the brunt most are women who formerly had equal rights to win salt independently and supported their families with the proceeds. A Ghanaian born in the Philippines, Liliona Kwamin, is a professional choreographer. She assembled some of the residents and the members of the Dance Songo
women in particular and other people
to stage the dance drama.
Able to
she says the effect of Achiakpo is enormous.
Many women are now forced to work for very little, sometimes for 1 cedi for a big basin of salt. So many women are now really struggling to do the things that they were able to do before, and that has then led to a whole range of other issues. Teenage pregnancy, for for example, has risen a lot. Women who feel that they are forced to perform sexual acts in exchange for money or in exchange for being allowed to win salt in the Songor. So it's had a really negative effect on women in particular and on families. And then, of course, there's the environmental aspect.
With Achiakpo, many of the women have now become laborers working for the owners of the legal carved-out private salt pans from the lagoon. And sometimes they have to agree to sexual favors from the owners. The anger generated over the menace is what will make the Vishna Queen mother of Kabiechu, Nene Adede and Wandin Kiteku the first make this emotional promise of stopping the problem.
Let me ask my fellow Queen mothers, are we afraid? Are we afraid? My fellow queens, let us come together. I urge you all this evening. Let us come together and join the struggle so that Achiakpo must stop. And I personally promise that until Benahood moves to Dunsany, I will never turn back. I will follow the struggle. So Achiakpo is no more.
A majority of the inhabitants living around the Songor Lagoon in Ada, salt mining is the major occupation. But just like many other mining communities, the practice comes with its own challenges. One of them is Achiakpo, you understand, is the illegal form of salt mining. From this dance drama, we understand some of the adverse effects as land erosion and numerous conflicts that this practice brings. They have lived the experience of Achiakpo, and that lived experience is evident in how they depict the menace. Maxwell Agbagba for Joy News.
That's it for the bulletin. My name is Israel Lai.